Alright, and welcome to this unboxing video for some of the brand new Yoroni. First and foremost, I do want to thank Parallel Games for sending me some. This is going to go well with the ones I'm picking up as well. But in the current time, we are looking at, I believe actually, this week, a couple days from now, depending on when you see this. I'm waiting for them to tell me exactly when I can show it. But otherwise, within a few days from now, you will have some of these guys in your hands. So they were nice enough to send me a box of the things that are coming out. So we're going to take a look at these. I have the other boxes here from the side. I do apologize a little bit for the very shiny light. I have the other one sitting right here. I did try to dampen that a little bit, but it doesn't look like it did so much. So I don't know. That's okay though. So we're taking a look first at our box of Oni. I also have a box of the Tengu, a box of Kami, and I got the Daimyo hanging out right here. So let's take a look at these guys first. What I do like about them, so you can probably actually see this a little bit more from the back. You can see they did a little bit of a different paint scheme back here. They went, at least to me, it looks a little bit more of a darker red. I'm actually going to go with a bit more of magenta because I do want to do the red on the armor, the trim, and especially when you look at the Kami. Essentially their armor's red. I want to do that as well, but I want the skin to be a bit different from them. So let's take a look and see what we actually have. All right, everything here is going to be on a brute base. I have plenty of these. I actually started already testing my base schemes because I have spare bases around. So actually working on those. Now, they did say they had 2 cards in here. I assume they're both Ka. They are. I do like the fact that overall they have included 2. I think that's really helpful, because we know, okay, as they're technically I could run as 1 unit, but it could be a 2-pack and then a 1 going somewhere else. So they're giving you a little extra just in case you end up needing it. So, and we have the kanji for, I'm not exactly sure what they are for. I know someone for one of the other ones told me what it was. So if anyone actually knows what this particular one is for, please say so. But overall, like the cards. So they fit both these guys, or all 3 of these guys, onto 2 sprues. One of the first times we've seen in terms of this where almost exceptionally dedicated not dual kits, other than like the Tengu. So most of the other ones are not. Sword is with them, but flexible at least. Doesn't look like it's actually going to break on me. Looks like we have the front and back. Did they do their nice trick? Yep. So might be a little bit hard to see, but there's a B inside, So you can actually go through. You can see for the shoulder pauldron, R for right. That one is L for left. So they are actually trying to, at least to a decent extent, help idiot proof it. And I absolutely love that because I know I think it was the last time I built a Reaver Titan. I put his legs on backwards and I ripped those off after like the glue had dried. It was a big mess. I'm curious if they have many options on this. So taking a look, I can see at least 1, 2 faces, 3 faces. See if there's any on this particular one. I'm curious if you actually have any play at that or not. I don't necessarily see any others looking around, so you might not actually have very much choice on those, but that's okay. You're going to look at instructions. Maybe you do have some. Maybe I'm just missing them. Oh, yeah, they're showing a little bit at least. So there are some variations in the heads. I just missed those. So they tell you the different groups that you could put together. Oh, yep. And there's if you're doing it as a leader. Even if I don't necessarily think they're necessarily going to be a leader, I always do them as a leader. Anyway, we can see essentially it's the top knot is what changes when he's a leader versus when he's not. So whether or not one's a leader, I'm just going to do that because I always like that anyway. Then we have our third one there. So yeah, there is a little bit of choice in the heads. Not too much, but a little bit. Otherwise, looks like a good amount of little pieces going all over them. But as always with their newer plastics, they are very easy to put together. They usually go together quite well. I do usually have a little bit of gap filling I have to do. But I'm kind of used to that on pretty much any models that I ever assemble. So I do plan on assembling these guys at time of recording within about a day or so. Oh, 3 toes. Within about a day or so. So you might see that at the end of this one. If not, you might see a different one. I'm going to sit down and get all that done. Oh, you might also hear a little bit of weather in the background. It's A little bit of a stormy, potentially stormy night. All right, so that's the first one. Let's actually, you know what? Take a look at Daimyo, because he's right here. Now, you can also build him as Oyabun. I'm not going to. I want the Daimyo. That's personally what I want to run. I think he goes really well in the unit of Oni. Okay. So, they give you 3 different ones. Can he come as all 3? I don't think so. Yeah, so I did just check. The Daimyo is Ka. The Oyabun is Chi. So they do add a Su card. Off the top of my head, I'm not thinking as to why, but that's absolutely fine. I haven't seen the Chi one. I do like those in general. I've already seen the Ka, so I have quite a few of those. But honestly, the few of the lists that I've tried lately have had quite a few running that, because I have a Daimyo. I had at least 2 units of Oni. One's like a 2-pack, one is a bigger pack, and things like that. So, which would be good. I do like in general that they're just giving you spare cards, so we'll have a few extra. That was an issue I ran into when I got the special edition Sorcerer back when the Sorcerer Kings just released. And the biggest problem with that special edition Sorcerer was it didn't actually come with ritual cards. So I actually only now have one of the rituals that was missing before. Okay, so sub-assembly, it's all the same except when you get to arms. So you have the Daimyo with the essentially pulling out his blade, and the Oyabun with his weapon instead. That's actually quite large. Rather impressed by that. Okay, so looks like most of this is the same. And then this essentially, if you want to make him a Daimyo, here's your little extra. You can see originally to fit him in the box, this was the overall total, and then I snapped it off to be able to fit in a little bit smaller of a box. Actually, my apologies. There's another card in here. Ooh, okay. The characters just come with what? Each one? Yeah, he came with essentially 4-pack. The only one he didn't come with then is Mew. The one shame I find, and this has nothing to do with them, it's not really even a negative, but I find that when this is all said and done, like I'm not going to be using this point because I'm not making the Oyabun. But then, okay, maybe the weapon, maybe I could kind of grind off the hands a little bit to kind of make it work, but otherwise, it's a really cool piece, and I don't have anything to do with it. It kind of just goes into the garbage. Unlike some other things when I'm building Space Marines and stuff like that, the little extra bits, I can find uses for those. These, I always like the leftovers, but I can never do anything with it. But overall, so we're looking at that. Let's see, we got, as I guess it's feathers we have to actually do off of this. I'm actually probably going to try to do him reasonably close to the Daimyo scheme here, where he has sort of this feathered look across him. I do actually want to do that, and much like here, we see his skin tone is a bit lighter. I'm going to be going to closer to this, that more magenta color. My bases look a little different. My bases are much more dark forest almost with some green. I might grab one of those later to show. All right, well, he for right now is going to go into this box, so that way he's with his friends. Let's take a look at something else. Let's take a look at the Kami. I have to say, I'm back and forth on these guys. I do think they look a little silly, and I'm okay with that overall. I do think I have to do the giant ridiculous eye. I'm just not too sure about the body plates. I don't know if I truly like that one. You can't really see that one. We'll see exactly what it looks like when we open it. Here we go. A little bit better. So just a big sort of toothy grin. Rules wise, I think they are pretty good. I missed originally that they had trample too. So when I used them, they kind of felt a little underwhelming, but the Trample 2 really actually does quite a bit. Didn't notice before it's a bunch of teeth and eyes and sort of off smiles, but I'm going to go for this red. For them, their skin tone is almost this pallid humanish tone. So I'm thinking like a palette witch flesh and stuff like that. I just don't know if I'm going to go exactly that or try to make them a little bit more ethereal looking. Probably the most unique of the looks. I'm just not the biggest fan of it personally. Okay, so we got some bases. Let's get those out of the way. Where are our cards? Okay, so just 2 cheat cards. Very good. Have a full set by the time this is all said and done. Okay, so there's some of the body pieces. I like how they have this little bit extra. My guess is just didn't fit nicely on some of the other sprues. Yep, so there's the big open spots to put your big toothy smile into. Here's the other one. You can actually see it doesn't have the rest of its face on yet, but actually does have a giant tongue on it as well. There's that essentially handpiece with all the eyes and everything on it. Rather large, I have to say, just by the look of it. Pretty big with a lot of detail, so going to be actually really good to paint that. Although I have to say, let's see. Yeah, it is raised enough where you could probably just, almost a dry brush across. I don't even necessarily do the full dry brush on that, but I'll pretty much dry my brush and just kind of wipe it across to be able to get that. Oh, that's an inside of a mouth there. So you got the inside of the mouth, a little bit of the teeth. There we go. Just trying to clean up the camera a little bit. A little bit of our face there. So it's coming on about 2 sprues with a little bit of extra. Pretty big guys. Let's see how hard they're actually saying to actually put all this together. Okay, so quite a few pieces I'm looking at when I'm looking at these leg parts and all. You're probably going to have to do a little bit of what I usually do. I know some of you people use like sprue glue and stuff like that. What I usually do is, because I do all this in plastic glue, I put a little extra plastic glue in there. When I close it, there'll be a little bit on the outside, and I scrape my knife across that. And I find the gentle scraping of that will fleck off a little bit of the plastic. It'll mix with the glue to essentially seal the seam without me having to essentially make a mess with sprue glue, because I find personally it makes a little bit of a mess when I do it. But maybe I'm just not too great at it. Okay, so he does have some different face options there. We can see he's got a little head there. Oh, there it is right there. A little bit goofy. I don't know if it comes through that nice. But if you take a look, it's actually got little tiny teeth in there and stuff like that. I don't mind the goofy aesthetic. I don't know if I'm going to do them for a clean look or a little bit of a dirtier look. So we can see there's lots of, top arm, bottom arm, a lot of little pieces actually to put together. So might be a little bit of pain. Although having looked at now a couple of these kits, I'm not noticing much in terms of mold lines that aren't intentional lines. Like when you look at the side here, it might be a little bit hard to see. When you look at the side, there is a little bit of an edge, but that's essentially where the armor ends. And then it goes to a different connection piece. So it looks like if there's mold lines, they hid those very well in terms of that. I'm not noticing on other things when I'm looking. You tend to look obvious spots, legs. So you look along the edge of a leg. Do you notice something there? That kind of thing. Let me turn this light on to help out with that a little bit. So looking along edges of legs and all, and I'm not seeing any of that particular stuff. So they're probably going to be the last ones I put together personally. I do like them. I think they're cool, but they're just not the thing I'm quite as excited about. So I don't think they're going to be one of the first ones that I work on. First things I'm going to work on are actually over here, which are the Tengu. I am going to build them as the Akiashi because I want bows. I do feel, I've said it before in my videos about this, and through playing the game, I feel it even more, playing with this army a few times now. You need the range. You need some range threat. You need to be able to put some damage onto people. You have less models, so you need to be able to link out the things that are maybe of some concern, or they're rushing forward. That thing could actually hurt me. I need to take a stand or two off of it, so that way when it hits my, essentially just lesser amounts of stands, I can withstand it. I do like the look of the ones with the swords, but I have to go the other version. The other reason, and this box being the only dual kit, does mention along one of its edges that you can build both. There it is. Yeah, it does actually tell us you can obviously build both. The reason why I'm bringing that up, and maybe it's a little less obvious, we'll take a look here. What I have heard, oh, there's the other card. I was going to say they only give me one card this time. No, they gave you two. What I have heard is that for the one-player starter kit, which is something I do plan on picking up, I do think that's a really, really good buy. But for the one-player starter kit, what I've heard is, and this apparently has been confirmed on the Discord, although I have yet to read it myself, but I've heard that it's been confirmed, is that in there they show Tengu Bushi, and it will just be Tengu Bushi. Apparently the bows will not be an option on that one. That's especially why I want to build these guys as the Akiashi. We notice for it, essentially it's the same exact body, same exact head, and it's just the arms. And then whether or not you put, say, a lute, or whether or not you're putting arrows. And essentially that's what it is. If it's a bushi, you're getting an instrument sort of thing. Otherwise, you're getting some arrows. And obviously, if you want some distinction, you could still put the other type on there as well. So what are they doing? Okay, here's how they can do it then. So that idea makes sense. Because what they end up doing then for that box, this part is probably clipped off. Because notice, this is all of your bows, has all 3 bows, all 3 quivers, has the arms for all of it. So this whole piece right here just gives you your Akiashi. When we look at it, we're seeing this part, actually the rest of this is the bushi, and then the bodies fully are on this particular one here. So that's actually how they're going. No, there's one bow here. So I wonder if maybe this one will be left. So body sprue in that, because this does have 3. This must be related for a character, or sorry, not character, a leader. But maybe all 3 of these aren't needed. Maybe all of these are related to the leader for the Akiashi. So maybe it's snapped off. Otherwise, you'd have the rest of it. I'm really looking forward to actually working on these birds. This is something I was very, very excited about. We can see, as always, they do their nice little thing of, that's a 3. That's a 3. You can put these together really well. I'm liking the scheme that they did. I'm liking the sort of black with the blue highlights to the feathers and everything like that. Yeah, we're seeing quite a few little pieces there. We're seeing all their faces. Yeah, all the rest of the bits are here. So my guess, and I would say, why not just keep it? But at the same point, if that's what they're doing, that box is already such a good value. Like $100 for a full 1,000-point First Blood army, about 900 points into this, or 800 or so. It has a lot of what you want anyway, so it's, it's a great find. But if that is true, and I've heard that it's true, they've said that it's true, I'm not 100% on that, But from everything I've seen, they've said that that's the case. And if that's so, then I'm going to want a separate box of these, and I want to build them this way. What I am curious about, yeah, you can tell the leader actually has his bow a little different. What I'm curious about is if I had a spare body, which I would have from that box, because I want 4 bows, can I use the leader part to essentially make a 4th one? So if all he uses are these bits, so 41, 62, 39, and all of that, I bet that is the parts. So I wonder if with an extra body, if there's enough bits to be able to put a 4th one down. And I'm going to find out, because when I have that first player starter, I'm going to put that together and see if I can do that. Because I like 4 of those, and I personally don't think I want more than 2 Tengu Bushi. For the moment, though cool, I'm less concerned about those. I just show off a little bit more of my basing, so I put together my basing scheme for these guys. It's essentially a dark brown, put a little bit of some lighter stuff onto that, so that's the thought. So I'm going to go with very bright colors for them in general. So that's overall the thought process on this. All right, well, as I said, I do thank Parabellum for sending me these things. I'm going to be working on these. Well, actually, I'm probably recording one other video after this, and then I'm going to work on all this stuff. So I'm going to be sitting working on this now. Depending on when this video comes out, you might see some of them put together right now, or I might end up showing them in something else separate. All right, well, I talked about actually assembling the models. I did sit down and do that. Now, unfortunately, I don't actually have the auto spinner thing like Dan does, so I'm just going to kind of hold them up and talk about them a little bit. I did end up assembling all the kami. Overall, I am really a big fan of them. The models have grown on me now that I've actually put them together. Went together pretty nice. There is some spare arm options and some face options as well. Essentially the body is the full back. Legs are 2 pieces each, so the ones are pretty good. They sit along the back, and then you have the front, which has a few different parts to it to attach to his front. That put together makes the bottom of him kind of hard to see underneath, but that part's hidden anyway once they're on the base. They do overhang a little bit. As you can see, his feet off the edge. That's true for essentially all the kami. Overhang a little bit. Oop. But no little extra bits on these guys, except the nut work on his particular back. But everyone else is kind of put together fully. There is some, I believe, spare hand options as well. Not too much, but there's enough where if you were building 6 of them, you could vary up how they work. The arms kind of do work together. So if you look at him, he has these bars across his arms. But you could intermix them and all. And the main parts of the body don't really align with the arms. So you could switch who has which arms for some variety to them. I assembled the Daimyo. Here he is. So he went together very nicely as well. Actually, for him, I was a little bit worried that a lot of times on some Parabellum games models, the arms fit perfectly, like they're stuck in. Other times it's more of a ball and socket joint. That's what the Kami arms essentially were. They have a little bit more of what I might call a preferred position, but we could move them around a little bit as well. I was worried about that with this, but actually the arms actually slot in perfectly. So it was actually very easy to get his weapon attached and everything like that. Had a little bit of concerns about that, but he went together really nice. That's one, like I said, unfortunately, the Oya Bun parts I'm just not going to end up using. But only so far I have the one together. I have a few others. It's taking me a little bit while to put together, but I'm watching Band of Brothers while I do so. Because I didn't feel like watching Castlevania again. That's usually what I actually watch. So putting him together, the one thing I will say, this is the first model where they got a lot of extra bits. So he's got a little bit extra thing there. He's got the jug hanging off. There was another thing I'm supposed to put on. I'm not a big fan of all the little extra bits that you can put on guys like this. Also, especially on this one, might be a little bit hard to see, but the connection points just really aren't there. You're kind of just putting it down. And I'm not just a big fan of that personally. So I will probably put 1 to 2 other things on each one. I do like the jugs, but other stuff I'm just not going to put it on. Same thing with my Mori. They also were supposed to have some things hanging off them. I didn't bother putting on them. It just didn't like the feel. Now when it goes to the Tengu Akiashi, which is the form that I'm building them in, they of course do have their quivers that go on the same way, but it's a decent spot to connect those. That's how I connected this one. So those feel like you can actually kind of put them on pretty well. Otherwise, their arms are just one piece. You will notice it's actually only one leg connection, but they did actually give it a large plastic bit to it, which, I mean, when I put my basing materials on, it'll cover it. But what is nice about that is it's more of a connection point, because until I noticed that, I was worried it's just the one part of his foot because his other foot's in the air. So it actually feels pretty solid. He's going to hold on there pretty well. Like I said, Kami overhang a bit, but not too bad. The Daimyo overhangs a little bit, but not too bad. With the way I did the basing, the bases will sit, maybe not 100% perfectly flush, but pretty close. But once I put it all together, that's absolutely fine. I'll put some magnets in there. It'll hold no matter what. All right, so that's the actual models together. And back to, depending on where I put this, the rest of the unboxing. So if the video goes much past this, you'll see that. As for other things you should be seeing, I'm putting together some battle reports right now. There was a lack of content for a few weeks because I had a wisdom tooth removed, and it's the first time it's ever bothered me. First time I felt pain from that. And I also found out I'm one of about 10% of people who aren't affected by codeine because we lack the enzyme that metabolizes it to morphine and stuff like that. So it was a really fun week and a half. But we're okay now. Tylenol's doing enough of a job, and it only hurts a little bit. So back to getting some content. I have some battle reports to do. I have some other videos I had planned to do and talk to people and said I was going to do. And then I got a tooth ripped out of my face, and it caused me some problems. So otherwise, I'm going to sit here and work on all this stuff. Let me know, are you picking up anything for this faction? Are you picking up anything in general? And we have a discount code, Train Kickers, if you want to save a little bit of money on it, of course. But otherwise, and if you're picking up, what is your thoughts? What sort of things are you going with now, and what are you waiting for? I know at least now, either way, I was going to pick up some stuff, but I'm kind of waiting for that 1-player starter. The 2-player is an absolute great deal. I don't have anyone who would necessarily want the other half, and I don't need or want Wadroon personally. But if you are thinking about it all, that is an absolute steal because the cost of the Quaddle is over half the cost of the box anyway. So if that's the only model you even wanted, you could do that, sell the Yoroni for about half the cost, and now you have a Quaddle for less than the natural cost. So I do think that's an absolutely amazing steal of a box. I think that a first player starter, gives someone the Wadroon part, and you're pretty close to an army. Wait then for a monster come out, especially the Genyu no Yokai, and you're pretty well set. All right, well, that's what we have for this particular one. Hopefully it was of interest. I said I'll get these things put together. You might kind of see a little slideshow right at the end. Otherwise, you'll see that shortly once I have it together and start using it, which honestly, I'm going to be using it this week. So my hope is actually on Friday to be doing a game with these models and some of my proxies. In case people didn't see the way I did my proxies, I essentially planted blanks and then put the name on it. So this way I can put this inside of a base and everyone knows what the thing is. So that's actually what I've been doing for the rest of it. And here's my Genyu no Yokai. So, all right. Well then, on behalf of everyone here at the show, has a good hobbing. It's a great gaming.